So after years of waiting, Playboi Carti finally drops the album, I Am Music. But was it worth the wait? I don't know, man. I have mixed opinions and I want to talk about it. If you're new here, my name's willarmani. Please make sure to subscribe and like this video so you don't miss out on any new rap discussions or topics that I like to go through. Let's get started, man. I want to talk about the hype versus the reality first. Now, this project had a lot of hype leading up to it. I mean, years of hype leading up to it. For years, we were riding off of the exact same album that he released previously, which was Whole Lotta Red. And that was a great project. And I think a lot of people can say, looking back, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people could say looking back that Whole Lotta Red gave us something that we never got from Carti or from any other artist before. And it literally started an entirely new wave. We can't act like Carti did not start a whole new wave of artists and a whole new wave that influenced rap culture forever. And so many artists came after him. I mean, even the artists that Carti signed, like Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely, have left their own impact and imprint on rap. This album had so much hype leading up to it, but to me, the reality of what we got, it's not that it was bad, but it was just a little underwhelming. And I do think that this album was good. I'm not saying that it wasn't, and we're gonna get a little bit more into my opinion in detail, but this album to me was more of something I expected rather than something I didn't. And that's, again, not a bad thing, but we gotta think about it. Whole Lotta Red, when it first came out, was a project that was extremely unexpected from Playboi Carti. Coming from an album like Die Lit or his self-titled project, Whole Lotta Red was something that was extremely unexpected, definitely something that moved his career in a different trajectory. And if Whole Lotta Red didn't sound the way that it did, although a lot of people thought it was crap in the beginning, it wouldn't have moved his career in this position where he is looked at by so many fans, so many artists, and so many people as this genre-bending artist. There's a lot of things that this project did right, and I want to talk about the things that this project did do right. So I think what it did do right was it brought the energy back. You know, the energy that Playboi Carti brings on a project, or Playboi Carti brings on anything that he touches, is definitely there throughout this project. I mean, this project has 30 songs on it, and to me, that's a lot. And at the exact same time, I know he's trying to feed the fans because he hasn't put out music in so long. So 30 songs is not a bad idea. Then again, he's saying that he's gonna release a deluxe, and to me, that's a bit too much. We'll get into that, but the energy was definitely there on this project, and that is undeniable. He brought the energy on this project, and all throughout every single track, from track 1 all the way up to the end, I felt Playboi Carti's presence on this project. I think that the features that he put on this project were also felt. With that said, I think that every feature that he put on here was unnecessary, and I feel like if he left out all the songs that had features on them, I wouldn't be unhappy. The features definitely did their thing. Future, as always, on a feature, did his thing. Travis Scott's one of those artists who, when you hear a Travis Scott feature, you're not surprised, you're not upset, you just are like, okay, this is Travis. You know, Travis does his thing no matter what he does. The Uzi song, I feel like one of them I think was a Pink Tape throwaway, and that's okay. And I just think it was a good song, but was it a little forgettable in my opinion? Yes. And then there was another Uzi song that had no Carti on it whatsoever. It was about a minute of beat just breathing in the beginning, and then it was just Uzi for about a minute. And I think that that song could have been completely left out. You know, it was a great song, and I always like to hear Uzi on features because for some reason Uzi does amazing on his features, and then his own projects is a different conversation, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. Kendrick did his thing. I think everybody who had a feature on this project did their thing in their own right respectfully. They all kind of didn't really do their own thing, and they more so played in Carti's universe, and it was a really kind of good thing for the entire project as a whole. But I still hold my ground and say that I do think that this project was a bit underwhelming. And underwhelming in the sense of this project, I want to get this off my chest and say this. I am not saying that this was a bad project. I am not saying this was a bad project, and I'm not saying that I'm hating on Playboi Carti. What I'm saying is this project was underwhelming. We have to consider a few factors, right? One of them being Carti waited years to drop this project after a Whole Lotta Red. Every single time somebody was saying, yo, this is I Am Music is gonna be amazing, I Am Music is gonna be like the greatest project he ever drops, I said that this could be one of his best projects in previous video, but I also felt intuitionally that this could also be a project that could be underwhelming, and that's because he waited so long. And it's not that I think Carti is an incapable artist of giving us good music. He's given us good music, but do I think that he can give us something that is going to change the atmosphere like Whole Lotta Red did? I don't know, and I'm not sure, because Whole Lotta Red changed the atmosphere the way it did because it was just a surprise, and it was something that wasn't expected to come out of him. What I heard on this project was, in one way or another, what I expected to come out of him, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you give us something that we expected rather than something that we didn't expect, the conversation is a little bit different, because when Whole Lotta Red came out, it was underwhelming and overwhelming to different people alike, and it was something that some people either said was amazing or some people said was absolute trash. And to me, that's a different conversation starter, because so many people said, oh, this was bad, this was bad, this was bad, and it did the numbers that it had to do. It did like over 100K. People later on over time, through TikTok and through trends, discovered that Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red was actually a really great project, and it was something that was so different that at the time people could not recognize that. I think the difference with this project is he has molded a sound that he was probably scared to step out of, because Whole Lotta Red is the project that took his career to an entirely different level. So I can't be upset that he stuck to this kind of formulaic way of doing music throughout this project, and I can't be upset at that, because the songs are not bad at all. The songs are definitely songs that I can listen to over and over again, and they're songs that are good, but I think it was underwhelming in the sense of we waited so long. I honestly would be happier with a project that what most people would call trash, and even myself might not look at as great, but over time would grow on us the same way Whole Lotta Red did. And he didn't give us anything like that. He gave us something that could be expected by people who have just passing through listened to Playboi Carti, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but nothing is genre bending. So instead of the conversation being good, trash, now the conversation is, this isn't bad, this is just kind of, it's okay, it's mid. A lot of people use the word mid as a bad thing for projects, but I don't think that's a bad thing, like I don't think mid is necessarily a bad thing. It means, it's not that great, extraordinary, but it's also not ass, it's doing its thing, rightfully so. I don't really want to call this project mid, because I think that there was good music on this project, so I don't want to call it mid, but it was definitely what I expected from him, and nothing was changing and genre bending the way that Whole Lotta Red was. And so many people are going to try to argue with me in the comments, I know it, and try to say like, oh well, this was a good project, why are you hating, what do you expect, da, da, da. What I expected was a project that changed his entire sound, and I expected that because we waited years for this project. I don't care what anybody says, we waited years for this project to drop. So to me personally, that was a very ego-driven thing. That was a very thing that he probably felt like he had, he was on top of the world for such a long time, and he's been on top of the world for such a long time. He probably felt like he can give us this project and the fans would be satisfied. And I think the fans are satisfied, but I think in the long term, fans are going to realize, okay, we didn't really get something that can hold us. You know what I mean? Like something that could really hold us over. Like Whole Lotta Red was a project that held people over because we didn't know what to expect for his next project. We had no clue. To me, this was a sound that we could have expected. So did this project push the culture, or did it play it safe? I think that this project played it safe. Am I saying that that's a bad thing? No, it's not that it's a bad thing, because I know that he's just trying to keep the momentum in that spot that he was able to propel himself at. So I can't exactly get upset that this album played it safe. With that said though, it does get me a little upset because you really played your fans like crazy. I mean, you waited this long to drop a project, and then now this project comes out and it's not like extremely different. And so many people are going to try to argue with me and say like, why does it have to be different? Well, to me, it has to be something different because you made fans wait on lines for you. You never showed up. You made fans wait for this project like crazy, making fans of your music look insane because you are literally teasing them and saying that you're going to do the greatest thing in the world, and then you drop a project that is not bad. Again, it's not bad, but it's exactly what anybody could have expected out of Carti from what we've heard recently. If I had to rate the project, I'm gonna rate it like a 6 out of 10, like a solid 6 out of 10, and I don't think that's a bad rating at all. It's above a 5, and I don't think that it's a bad project. I think the thing that kind of hurt it to me was the features were great but not necessary, and over 30 songs, and a lot of them, to me personally, my opinion, I have the right to my own opinion, a lot of these songs kind of blended in the sense of the project could have been shortened a little bit. Regardless of what people say, and people try to say like, oh well, he didn't drop for a while, so that's why he put this many songs on the project. This man is literally talking about making a deluxe, and I'm sitting here like, you're making a deluxe, what are those songs gonna sound like? If they're gonna sound like more of the same, hold the deluxe and let us sit with this project for a long time, because I do think that long term, although this project may not have the Whole Lotta Red effect, long term this project is gonna sit with us, and maybe my rating will go from a 6 out of 10 to maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10. I don't know, but time will only tell. What do we need next in rap? What do we need next right now? I think what we need is a new wave, because this signifies a culture shift. It signifies the fact that the culture is now, we've finally gotten the project that almost all of rap was waiting on, because we got to keep in mind, mainstream rap hasn't really gotten something that's culture bending like that in a really long time. So the fact that Playboi Carti has finally dropped this project signifies a culture shift. What we need is a new wave. What we need is new artists to come out, and I'm excited for what's to come in rap, and I'm excited that Carti finally dropped this project because we can finally pivot and see new artists and see new things. And I'm honestly excited for Carti's own label, Opium, to be dropping more projects. Regardless of what anybody says, I actually really enjoyed Destroy Lonely's last 2 projects, and I'm excited to see what he's got coming. I'm excited to hear and see what Ken Carson has got coming, because Ken Carson, to me personally, is dropping amazing music. The hype around his name, it's getting real, you know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to see what's to come. But how can Carti stay on top? I think how he can stay on top is letting this album breathe. Don't drop a deluxe. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what any of his fans says. don't drop a deluxe. Let's let this album breathe and let this album do what it's gotta do, because he hasn't dropped for years. I want to see what this album does long term. And regardless of what anybody thinks, in my opinion, I think that this album was a great album. Let me take that back. I think this album was a good album. I don't think it was great. I think it was a good album. And I think we just need to see what this album does long term. So I think you should let this breathe and give his fans the chance to digest what he's just given them. And I do think that, with that being said, next, his sound needs to evolve the same way it did for Whole Lotta Red. And people don't really like when sounds change and evolve. So people might really hate on him when his sound changes, but I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if he does, it could have that Whole Lotta Red effect, in the sense of we got something so different, or we get something that's so different that people can really attach themselves to it long term in a different way. I want to know your opinions on Playboi Carti's album. Did you like it? Give me a rating. Tell me what you would rate it, 1 to 10, and tell me how you feel about his journey now. Like, do you think that Carti is going to propel into this next generation? Do you think that he's going to keep this momentum going? What do you think is going to happen? And I want to know what you think. Please make sure that you subscribe. I got more videos coming on the way like this. I make my own music, so if you're interested in that, please be sure to follow me on Instagram, willarmani with 2 eyes. I got more coming, and please stay positive.